Hi, welcome to Letters from New Zealand. I am John Jarvis. Millions of people worldwide claim to practice martial arts. But unless you are in the military, paramilitary or some form of SWAT team, you are not. Martial arts are military arts. So what do students outside these parameters practice? By the end of these 3 podcasts, I hope you will be furnished with the answers. Because of the scale of the subject, I will confine my studies to Japanese martial systems. Classical Bujutsu indicates those who train as warriors. They can include those not of Bushi families and could often be part-time. The warrior class were styled Bushi, people who trained in the style of Bu. The term samurai was never used to describe them. Some of their class were tea masters and trainees in other forms that did not include Bujutsu. Some were well off due to the generous stipend of rice granted by their daimyo, or lords. Some were poor. Others were ronin without a lord. Whatever their status, Bushi were not scabbard happy. They were well aware that if swords were drawn, they had only 1 chance in 3 of surviving. They killed their opponent killed them, or ouch occurred when they struck each other simultaneously. Given the horrendous wounds inflicted and antibiotics were half a millennium away in the future, death was not uncommon. They were also aware, after battlefield observations, that some kamae, or stances, had weaknesses. Joran kamae, when the sword is raised above the head, elbows wide to clear the helmet, is more intimidating against a less aggressive geidan, the sword held low. Yet if the wrists are slashed against the descending blow, the cut will continue to contact. Conversely, if a downward cut is countered by a thrust to the chest, that cut will never arrive. It is much like stepping on a nail. The nervous system automatically drives the body away from the penetration. The basis of the martial systems is the ryu. There is no one word in English to describe it. Many were lost after the feudal period ended. The Dutch imported matchlock firearms helped their demise. One might wonder why the matchlock, with an effective range of less than 50 metres, was superseded by the far more formidable Japanese bow, which was designed 2/3 above the grip to allow easier use for mounted warriors, and had a range of up to 300 metres and a rate of fire of 4 a minute. There is an historical record of the Japanese equivalent of William Tell. When his province was invaded by sea by an opposing daimyo, he selected an arrow with a crescent-type tip, and at a range of over 100 feet, hit the daimyo's flag, sending it into the sea. The fleet was ordered wisely to sail away and attack another day. It became a matter of supply and demand. An archer takes years to train, a peasant musketeer a few months. At the Battle of Sekigahara, where the Tokugawa shogun began the 250-year rule of relative peace, a record never achieved historically by any other country, it was mainly musketeers behind stakes that destroyed the opposing Bushi. There was another historical precedent. The Mongols were specialists in mass engagements, and only stone walls and razor-sharp swords saved the day for the Japanese defenders. The Chinese were formidable spearmen, and as a result, spears became more available to Japanese troops. There was chivalry on a par with any European general. A general besieging a castle became devastated when he lost his eldest son in the assault and retreated to the beach to re-embark his forces, only to find the tide was out. They prepared to defend the dunes, to find a lone rider arrive with a message from the commander of the castle. He was sorry that the general had lost his son and advised him to rest before re-embarking. The commander had obviously read and studied Sun Tzu, always allow your enemy a venue of retreat. The rise of the daimyo, powerful landowners, some of whom were Bushi, necessitated the need for a standing army, but only a small percentage were Bushi. The banning of all weapons carried by non-Bushi had not stopped the demise and decline of the Bushi. During the Tokugawa shogunates, armies were designed to protect the shogun, not to wage war. In the long run, that eroded martial skills. The decline of the classical warrior skills is best illustrated by the use of weapons designed to be used in concert for restraining swordsmen. The long-shafted barbed weapons were replaced by shorter weapons used by the Tokugawa policemen, indicating a lack of skill in the swordsman being apprehended. Despite this, arduous daily training became the hallmark of all Bushi. A grounding of omite or surface techniques, usually a 4-year process, then he graduated to okuden or secret teachings, giving him confidence in the ultimate test, combat. Certain virtues were exalted: courage, self-reliance, self-sacrifice, obedience, discipline, patience, judgment, courtesy, and fragility were demanded. The study of a steering device called kata, or prearranged form, became the central training method of all Bujutsu. It was the only way it could be practiced without the practitioner being killed or wounded. Wooden weapons were introduced. They proved to be more durable and less expensive. The Bushi relied on zanshin, alertness, physical form combined with mental activity. Finally, one of the most feared composite weapons was kusarigama, an Okinawan sickle with a handguard, a long soft metal chain ending in a solid iron ball. Our most famous swordsman was Miyamoto Musashi. Centuries later, he would strangely have a railway station named after him. His ultimate challenge came when he faced a Kusarigama master. He was thwarted when he tried to force combat in a thicket to limit long-range technique. The master wound up the singing chain that could ensnare a sword blade and allow the sickle to strike. Musashi then did something unorthodox, allowing him to kill his opponent. I will leave the listener to ponder. Thank you for listening. Please click the subscribe thingy at the bottom and keep in good health.